Alicia Garza is a prolific activist, though you may not know her name. This is her story. Born on January 4th, 1981, she grew up in Marin County, where her mother taught her that everyone deserved to live with dignity and to be the best for herself, her family, and her community. She became involved with activism at the age of 12, advocating for comprehensive sex education and reproductive justice within schools. And she succeeded, expanding the programming around sex education. This experience prompted her to want to be an advocate for her community and to ensure those she loved were given the resources to make decisions that were empowering to them. In 1998, Alicia Garza began attending UCSD, and her activism continued. Alicia co-created the first Women of Color conference at UCSD. From this event, she learned that women of color need a space to form a community and that she was not alone. Her lived experience was also shared by others. In 2003, she returned to the Bay Area to benefit the community from which she came. She campaigned for increasing the economic security of Black families within West Oakland, essentially arguing that increasing opportunities for economic growth within Black communities was a better alternative to handling crime than increasing police budgets. She also worked in San Francisco at Bayview Hunters Point, the largest Black community that remained. She organized residents against environmental racism and gentrification, fighting for community health and against the notion of Black and brown low-income communities as dumping grounds for hazardous waste. She later argued in support of free public transit for all people under the age of 18 in San Francisco. This program is still in place today and has been expanded to include those with disabilities and the elderly. In 2012, she joined the National Domestic Workers Alliance to build a program focused on Black domestic workers and creating power for them within the industry. At the same time, in response to the acquittal of George Zimmerman, the man who murdered Trayvon Martin, on February 26, 2012, she founded Black Lives Matter through a Facebook post later entitled A Love Letter to Black People. 1 year later, on August 9, 2014, Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, Missouri by Darren Wilson. Wilson was not held accountable by a grand jury and was never tried. In response, Black Lives Matter organized a freedom ride to Missouri. Leaders, educators, doctors, and others came together to provide assistance to the rebellion and protest. Currently, Black Lives Matter is proposing the Breathe Act, which encourages divesting from police chapters and stopping the criminalization of Black and brown communities. After the 2016 election, Alicia Garza became committed to ensuring Black communities are powerful within politics, which in an ideal world would generate power in all other aspects of life. In 2017, she left the day-to-day operations of Black Lives Matter. She instead focused on voting rights and organizing for Black people. She did this through the Black Futures Lab and the Black to the Future Action Fund. The first project was the Black Census Project, which was the largest survey of Black people in America in the last 150 years. They then translated the data collected into a legislative agenda to better lives across the country. She recently published a book entitled The Purpose of Power: How to Come Together When We Fall Apart. Through this book, she examines her own experience as a movement leader in the greater context of Black activists throughout history. The road to progress is never linear. However, with activists and leaders like Alicia Garza, who are proposing policies and leading movements that change the lives of people, society is steadily progressing. Alicia Garza's life and the history of Black people within this country has not been without suffering. Yet, in spite of the oppression faced, hope is present. As Alicia Garza says, "Hope is not the absence of despair. It is the ability to come back to our purpose, again and again."